Little intro.
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome to another GY Fitness Live on the GY Fitness YouTube channel. And today we have our special guests that this is not the first time that they've been on here, but we're really happy to have them on here because we got a big announcement that's coming up. We got David and Ina Robinson on our YouTube channel live today. What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
How's it?
How is everything? We were talking about weather. How is the weather up there?
It's hot. It's hot. These last few days of summer, like they are really, we're talking 90s and really, really humid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys are in what state again?
Nebraska.
Good old Nebraska. Not Hawaii.
Are you guys coming to visit soon?
That's what we're planning. I mean, we're planning. We actually had some. We had planned to come there last year. I think we had like an Airbnb booked and some tickets and everything, and then COVID happened and we had to cancel and everything.
Sorry.
But so we're definitely long overdue for a trip back home. For sure.
Yeah, we missed you guys. We want to see you guys come back and want to spend some time with you all. So yeah, definitely let us know when you guys have that set up.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so before we get into the big announcement, David, I just want to kind of circle back with you. I know we had you on our YouTube channel a couple of months ago, and I know you competed recently in the Tampa Pro and the Texas Pro, and how about you kind of walk through how those two shows or those two competitions, how you did and how was it? Well, how was the experience?
So it was a good experience. I hadn't been on stage and I hadn't been on stage since December of 2019 when I did these shows here. So it was definitely a really good experience. I was missing the stage, and we finally were able to start a prep, me and the coach, and we came down from a whopping 247, I think I was, and we brought it down, brought me in, and it was definitely experience. The Tampa show was good. We tweaked a couple things for the Texas show as far as filling out, because we were a little conservative when we went to fill up for, or the carb up rather for Tampa show. So we were a little conservative with that carb up, and we did pretty well, but we kind of pushed the carbs a little harder for the Texas show. Ended up placing a couple spots higher than I did in Tampa, and so we're just learning what my body can take as far as carbs, what type of carbs, and this is my first show back in the 212s since dropping down the classic, and I'm older now, so the body changes. So you definitely we wanted to take a more conservative approach with that, and so now we're just in the off season, and we're growing in a clean manner, in a relatively clean manner. But and then we're looking at something around mid 2022. I'm really eyeing New York Pro. I've always wanted to win that show, so we're gonna try to put on some good size, a couple 10, 12 pounds maybe, and try to come in and get that show. But yeah, that's it.
Nice. Let me ask you this question. So on the off season, you got up to about 247, and I've known you for a while now, David. And I honestly think that every year you just progressively get bigger and bigger, right? Do you think that maybe you should just kind of skip the 212 and just kind of stay in the open? I mean, it's like, I don't know, man. It's like you're at 247. That's a good weight in the off season, and it's not like you get sloppy. It's not like a sloppy 247,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
You know what? Yeah, no, I think any bodybuilder, any bodybuilder, like actual, like open, like bodybuilder, if they say they've never thought about the open class, then I think they're lying. I've thought about it. Everybody's thought about it. Have you ever heard of a guy named Big Ramy? Like, come on, so I've thought about it, but I keep those as thoughts, for me, especially, and we'll talk a lot about this later on when we kind of dig into some things. But my last off season where I got up to, I said 247, it wasn't a great 247. It was because of certain things that were going on. I was limited to certain things as far as supplements goes, and so I ate portions that 212ers in the off season would eat. So I was eating a crap ton. I was doing a lot of insulin. That's like a body. So I was doing a lot of that, and I was training real heavy. But the 247 wasn't as clean as it should have been. It wasn't as, and that's kind of like what made the prep a little harder, was because I was coming down from a 247 that wasn't. I had no abs, and if you're a bodybuilder, if you don't have abs in the off season, you can't call yourself a body. You got to keep those abs. If you keep the abs, you're staying clean. Because I could have got up to 300 pounds if I wanted to in the off season, but then I got to cut all that bad weight off. So the 247 wasn't horrible, but it definitely wasn't a good 247. So this off season here is a lot different, and we'll get into that a little later. But it'll be a lot different. And I'm curious to see, what 230, a clean 230 looks like on, a David Robinson, what 235, maybe 240 clean looks like on my frame. And then we'll go from there. But open class. And then beside the fact, this one here, she's not having it. You want to know why? Because I'll go up the stairs halfway and I'll stop in the middle of the stairs and I'll sit down to catch my breath. And then I'll finish heading up, so that's just not, that's not the business.
And then, over the years, I progressively start getting less and less space in the bed.
Yeah. I was gonna say he's the California King is only so big, right?
Yeah, it's only so big.
Oh man, that's okay. So I think so mid 2020, thinking about the New York Pro, and I want to say this to the guys that's watching, is that the New York Pro is probably, in my opinion, one of the most competitive pro shows out there. And you can and I've heard people, say that the New York Pro is kind of like a mini Olympia, honestly, because you got the quality folks that's on that stage, and everybody wants to get that New York Pro title, right?
Yep.
And so that's one of the more tougher shows. And Dave, didn't you do that show in the past? I mean,
I did that show 3 times. That was my pro debut. That was my 212 pro debut back in 2016. That was the very first show that I did. I placed 6th that year. The lineup was about 11 or 12 folks, a lot of Olympians. So I did well. But it wasn't 20, 30 guys like Tampa and Texas. It wasn't a super huge lineup. But I've done that show 3 times, 2016, 17, and 18. I back to back years I did New York. And I love that show. I love, how Steve Weinberger, and his wife Bev, put that show on. I love that show. It's always been a show that I just wanted to win. I've wanted to win that show since I turned pro, and I definitely will win it. As I said, a lot of things are different now, and it's all about the off season for me. And this off season will be a lot better than probably any off season I've ever endeavored. I got a great coach in Dominic Mustachio, and we're gonna put the plan in action. I got my wife here; she's super supportive, so she'll be right alongside me, and I think we'll do some big things this year in 2020 or 2022.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Let me ask you this question. So back in 2016, 2017, 2018, like you said, the lineup, maybe there weren't as much guys in the 212 as there is today, right? Like Tampa Pro and the Texas Pro, you said there were like 20 to 30 guys in your lineup. Do you think that's because you're seeing some of the open guys come down to the 212 and maybe some of the classic guys move up to 212?
I think that has a lot to do with it. I think, because I mean, a lot of guys that I competed with on that New York Pro stage in 2016, a couple of them have already went up to open. Sean Clarita was there every single time. He ain't going nowhere. So he's still a 212. I also think too that in 2015 when I turned pro, that that was it was I would kind of lean towards saying, there's more pro cards coming out every year now than it was in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. There's more. There's 7 pro cards coming up in the Ireland show in December. So there's more pro cards being given out. So that's gonna boost up the numbers of the competitors on the stage. There's light heavyweights, the guys, the 198 pounds and a quarter guys, the light heavies, and then even the heavyweights that are turning pro and settling right down into the 212 division because they're right there. So I think that's the cause of the increase in competition in the 212 division, because as I said, you have an overall winner in the light heavyweight division, 198 pounds, or even an overall winner in the heavyweight division, 225 pounds. Those guys are perfect for 212. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's what's causing the 212 stages to just have, historical numbers as far as competitors on stage. I think that's what it has a lot to do with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, to your point too, like, I kind of want to go back to what you said about Big Ramy being in the open class, right? I think a lot of folks are like, they're super competitive. There's super good guys out there. But, when you realistically, right, because we got to be real in what we do, right? And you think about, okay, Big Ramy, you think about, Phil Heat, all those guys that's in open class. It's like, okay, is it really worth me pushing my body to that extreme where I have to compete against these guys that I've been in the show, in competing for 20 years, and they're already at that point, right? Right. And you can see some of the guys today that are really trying to push that limit, like Nick Walker, right?
Nick
and he's
Walker,
trying to get there fast, so you got guys that are actually pushing that button and they want to get there soon. But there may be a price to pay at the end of all of this stuff too, right? Because it's like, they're trying to achieve what these guys did in 20 years in like a smaller time frame,
Yep. Exactly.
So I think, to be, this is my opinion again. Just to be on the safe side, I think the 212 is something that is more achievable, right? And it's probably a class where you can be more successful.
Yep.
More competitive. Obviously there's a bunch of guys in there, but I think, as far as safety goes, right, and being well and making sure that you don't get into trouble, trying to push your body to that extreme limit, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
212 is the place to be,
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question: the Tampa Pro and the Texas Pro, what'd you weigh in at?
So I weighed in 198 for Tampa, and I weighed in 203 for Texas.
Okay, and the Texas is when you guys carved up a little more, right?
That's when we carved up a lot harder. We're talking burgers and muffins and all that kind carb up, and it definitely helped out a little bit. One thing that we did do in Texas that we didn't do in Tampa was we were a lot more aggressive with the water manipulation. So we pulled a lot of water, and in fact, I think we pulled a little bit more water than we should, because we carved up real good, but and water is so important when you're trying to fill up. It's a balance. You can a quarter diuretic more than what you need, and you could end up flat and stringy, and that's what but again, like this game is like that. You don't, like, the recipe is not written. You have to figure that out. And like I said, I got a great coach. He's very, very smart. He knows his shit, man. And we learn from, and I don't even call them mistakes. We learn from things that don't work so well. We learn from that, and then we'll keep building on that. We'll keep getting better. But yeah, it was one of those things, because I weighed in a lot heavier, but I was also a lot drier, which can cause you to look flat. It can cause you to look soft. Glute striations will be gone, but then after freaking 15 burgers, you'll have deep glute striations. It's weird. So we're just kind of working those kinks out.
Yeah. No, and that's what I love about you, Dave, is that every year you learn more and more and more about yourself, about your body, and how to manipulate things, right? Yeah. Because progressively, you just got to get better every year, right? So I think that's what you and Dominic are doing. What's your plans? Like, what do you guys have plans to beat what you came in at for the Tampa and the Texas Pro? Like, what are you guys going to start? What are you guys going to work on the off season? And then ultimately, do you guys have any strategies coming up for the New York Pro? Have you guys talked about that, or are you just kind of just taking the off season first?
Hands down, first thing is to come into a 16 to 20 week prep, in shape. Like I said, we came into my last prep about 22 weeks out, and I was nowhere close to being in shape. And so as a coach, what Dom had to do is he had to take the extreme route to get me show ready. But that was, I was fully depleted. I was carb depleted pretty much the entire prep just to cut the body fat. But what that does, as you already know, Greg, it takes the body 3, 4, 5, 6 days sometimes to fully fill back up. So if you're going through a whole prep and you're depleted basically the whole prep, you're gonna suffer when it's time to, because you won't have that time to fill up, but that's what we had to do because I came in, not in shape. The plan this time is to just stay in shape. Dom says keep the abs. If you keep the abs in the off season, you're going in the right direction. So it's staying in shape and entering a prep, still with quad lines, still with some glute lines, still with abs and delt separation, things like that. It kind of sounds silly, but if you go into a prep, you gain weight, but you go into the prep in shape, the prep will be a lot easier, and you can it doesn't have to be such an extreme prep where you're starving, so that's the main focus, is to go into a prep in better shape, and that way we don't have to go to the extremes to come down, and we can actually present the frame and the physique that we both know that I have. We've yet to show that physique, but we will. It's on me to be disciplined enough to go through the entire off season, grow muscle, and stay in shape. So that's the plan. That's hands down. That's the plan.
You guys, do you have any strategies, or I know you have a guy that helps you with the training. Do you guys have any different? You guys gonna manipulate your training style or anything you're gonna do differently for this one?
Yeah, so we've already started that. My training is down to 4 days a week, and so I'm training legs twice a week. I'm with, there's a quad emphasis day, and there's also a hamstring emphasis day, because we really need to build those legs. I want to have ridiculous legs, we smash them, and then the other 2 days is chest and back. I don't really do any accessory workouts. I don't train arms in the off season. I'm not going to do too much shoulder work, because shoulders are, if you have a really heavy back day, that rear delt is going to be worked. You have a really heavy and fully angled chest day, that anterior and that middle delt is going to be worked. So we're just hitting in basic compound movements. I'm doing a lot of leg press for legs, and like I said, we're just training legs, back, and chest, and so and hitting them really hard. So that's going to really put dense muscle tissue on my frame. And then when we go into prep, we'll go into the individualized like muscle groups and things like that. But yep.
Yeah, and I seen, you need to keep up with Ina, because I seen how much weight she had on her leg press.
You saw that?
You
She
did,
put
man.
me to shame, man.
Beast, man.
She puts me to shame.
Yeah, no, I think you guys have a solid plan. And I think the hard part really is, when you talk about the carbing up process, right? When you're like about a week out, and when you're depleted for like that 12-week period. And I'm a true believer, man, that if you're so carb depleted, when you start carbing up, it's hard for the body to suck it in and push it out. When I worked with Don Long back in 2016, I was like really, really scared when he started to carb me up on a Tuesday and I competed on a Friday, right? I was like, wait, what are you talking about? You carb me up on a Tuesday?
Right.
I usually just carb up after my weigh-in,
After the weigh-in, that's the norm for guys that have to make weight,
Right. So he was like, "Don't worry about it. Just trust the process." I'm like, "Okay, buddy."
Yeah.
And then Wednesday night, the night before weigh-ins, I come in at a 143, right? I'm a bantamweight. So Wednesday night, I weigh myself on the scale. I'm 154, right? And I'm like, "Wait a minute." So I called on. I'm like, "Hey, I'm 154. Weigh-ins tomorrow. Don't worry about it. Do this, do that. Wake up in the morning and tell me what your weight is." So I did exactly what he did. I wake up in the morning at 144. I'm like, okay, cool. I just lost 10 pounds overnight. And, because don't worry about it. By the time you get to the weigh-in, by the time you stand in line, by the time you get on the scale, you'll make your weight. So boom, 143 on the dot. And I was like, okay. Then he's like, okay, let's eat more. I'm like, okay.
Now let's eat more. Yeah. And
but
keep
it's
the water cut off.
Yeah. But it's a trippy process, man. And it's not something that I totally understand, but hey, you got guys in the business like Don and Dom, and they know exactly what they're doing. So we just got to trust the coaches, right?
Got to trust them.
Yep. Okay, let's switch gears, man. I want to get to this big news. So, Ina, I'm gonna let you or Dave announce the big news.
So unfortunately, our big news is not that we're moving to Hawaii, as much as we would like that to be the case.
We'd love that to be the big news.
um, so first of all, I will tell you guys, you kind of put us not really on the spot when Rose messaged us and said, "Hey, let's do another interview." And I said, "Wait a minute." The only people that we told were our families and our closest friends. So now, like, it's going to be out there.
She gets so anxious.
So the big news is that we are expecting a David Jr. So he's hopefully we'll meet him in about 5 months. So that's going to be Daddy's little spotter.
Yep. Already.
Yeah. So that's a big change. That's definitely a big change, new addition, and just a lot of excitement. Yeah.
That's not just big news. That's wonderful news.
That's great. It is great. It really is. It really is.
And it's an exciting time, right? I mean, so how's the pregnancy so far? Have you been
so
anything?
far it's been really good. I got lucky. I didn't have any morning sickness. I did have to wear a little motion sickness bands. Just kind of, I would have a few minutes here and there throughout the day where I'm like, oh, wait a minute. It was more like a car sick feeling. But I had a lot of food aversions. The food that I really liked, like chocolate and smoked sausage and peanut butter. Yeah, I just couldn't do it. Couldn't eat it. And I didn't really have much of an appetite. I lost about 4 pounds in the first couple months. And I finally gained it back. So actually right now I'm at my pre-pregnancy weight at 4 months. So that's good. And it was, just kind of figuring out, different symptoms here and there. It's like, okay, this is new, but that's a part of pregnancy. We'll welcome that. And then I was just really learning what I can and cannot do as far as the gym, the training, the old wives' tale is you have to stay away from the gym, do some light walking. But what now is kind of what the OBs and the doctors are saying, you have to stay active. But learning where your limits are, and really leaving your ego at the door and only, lifting half of what you're used to, that's hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely hard. But your body will tell you real quick, like, okay, you know what? You've had enough. So, yeah.
How's your sleep? Are you able to sleep?
No, so it's gotten pretty bad just in the last few weeks, couple of weeks. I've never had insomnia before. And last night, I think I was up at 4. Night before, I was up at 3, just completely wide awake. I have no problem falling asleep. But then in the middle of the night, I'm up. And I sat up last night. I was like, well, maybe I should go read a book or something. And then I eventually fell asleep. But that's new. That is definitely new. I guess when you have 2 humans with 2 different sleep cycles, he's winning right now.
He keeps her up.
That's definitely something that I think I will just have to deal with. Some people say that is your practice for, when you have a newborn and you have to just be up at, every 2-3 hours. So here you are. So sleep has been just a struggle.
Yeah. Are you guys planning? So 5 months. So this is, what is this? September? So February, around February, March.
So the end of February. We're looking at the end of February, beginning of March. They gave us a due date, but nothing ever happens at the due date. So
yeah, it can be prior, it can be after, right? So
no, he's gonna have to go.
He has to come out, right?
He's got his eviction date no later than.
Are you guys planning on breastfeeding or using formula?
I'd like to breastfeed for about at least for 6 months. I mean, ideally, and then slowly transition. It helps with. It doesn't only help the baby, but it'll help the mother to get back into shape. And just, I don't know. I feel we'll always have an opportunity to bottle feed, but you only have a short window, to start breastfeeding. So some people say it's hard, but some people kind of blow through it. I won't know until I try.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I had two girls, right? They're all grown already. We breastfed during the first 6 months to
Mhm.
like 8 months, I think. So she was doing straight to the breast, and then she was also pumping.
Mhm.
But pediatrician told us that, as far as nutritional value goes, right?
Right.
The mommy's breast milk, you cannot compare that to any formula on the market.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so if you have an opportunity, and if the opportunity presents itself, take advantage of it,
Right.
because there's women out there where the baby latches on, the baby wants to take the mother's milk, and they just don't want to do it, right? So they just give them
Right.
formula. And it's unfortunate because you have the moms that want to do it, but for some reason the baby just can't latch, or
Yeah.
the
Right.
milk just doesn't come out, right? So our pediatrician said, if it happens, do it, right? That was his
Right.
recommendation. So we did it for the two girls, and they turned out okay, I think. I think they're all right.
Yeah, and I'll be home for the first 3 months, so I feel like I have no excuse.
Yeah,
And then the
yeah.
second 3 months, David will take over. But we have lactation room at home at work, and that kind of makes sure that the breastfeeding mothers they have their privacy and the time that they need to. So sure,
Mhm.
we'll go as long as we can. Now, when he starts walking, that's probably for me at that point. It's like, no, just here's the bottle.
Your teeth hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's going back to what you just said about having that lactation room at work.
Mhm.
I mean, 20, 30 years ago, they never had that, right? And now it's like law, right? It's like you have if you're an employer, you have to provide, number one, the time, right,
Right.
for the mom, and you have to provide a place where she can do it, where she can
Right.
actually pump the breast milk, right?
Right.
And it's great that they actually they require that of employers now, because otherwise it would be a barrier, right, to being able to
Right. Right.
to do that. So I think that's the one thing that I agree with the government that they actually did. So
Yeah. I
hats
agree.
off to them.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
we've definitely come a long way just over the last 30 years. I mean, one of the big thing is I'm still being active duty. 30 years ago, I would be in process of just essentially getting my service terminated due to pregnancy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty sad that was happening, but I mean, now I don't have to even worry about it. It's just, I'll take my 3 months off, I'll be right back to work and business as usual.
Mhm. That's awesome. Yeah. Have you guys started prepping the little man's room?
No.
Not yet.
So I mean, we got it picked out, but we haven't really started we've been looking at pieces of furniture that we're gonna buy, but we
pretty
haven't
much got
started.
everything already picked out. Like it's all in pictures and links. We just really need to get into the room and start.
And do it. Yeah. Yeah.
And I told David, I said, next week, we're just gonna go ahead and start, and it's about to get real.
Yeah. Yeah. We're about to go crazy.
Yeah, small things like onesies and some toys, and we have a lot of books already, but like nothing really big.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
the moment we drag that stroller into the house, that's when it's really gonna get real.
Yeah, car seat, right? Baby
The whole-
monitor,
Yeah.
all the crib, all that stuff.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's we've got everything picked out,
Yeah.
but nothing here yet.
Soon.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Costco's is going to be the best place. Costco's or Sam's Club for diapers, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You get it from anywhere else.
Yeah.
You got to be frugal, man. You got to find all the deals,
Exactly.
deals, yeah.
Exactly. I have an older sister who she has a 3-year-old, so she is my source for deals.
Yeah.
She kind of gave me a rundown. She's like, listen, there's a really long list of the things that you need, the things that you want, and the things that are nice to have. Throw all that away, and these are like under 10 things that you really need.
Exactly. So when my first daughter was born, right? When Haley was born, we got everything, right? Like we did all the new mommy daddy stuff, buy this, buy that, buy this, buy that. And then when Taylor came in, and 4 years later, it was like, okay, she's gonna get all the hand-me-downs.
Yep.
You're gonna need the same car seat, same stroller, same crib. You get everything, man.
Yeah, that's kind of how we are right now. We have some friends that they either had babies already going into toddlers, or will have kids right before we do. And I'm like, hand-me-downs right here. I will take it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
then,
because if baby boy is anything like his daddy, he's gonna grow all this stuff in like a couple of days, man. You know,
Quickly.
he's gonna
I better not catch him adding some
Oh,
protein powder in there, in that milk.
Just a couple
Exactly,
shakes
yeah.
of protein powder in there. Little creatine.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that, you know, this is just me again, right? So like, you know, you get these parents that they have their little babies, and then they go to like the Nike store and they buy like these $100 Nike shoes, right?
Babies don't even walk. What do you need shoes
And
for?
they put them on, right? And then like 2 weeks later, it doesn't even fit, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, throw it, you know, whatever.
Whatever, yep.
That's the one thing I told my wife. I said, we're never gonna do that, because it's like you just throwing money away, you know. It's like,
Yeah,
we're not
doing it, you know?
And I think that's the beauty of having kids like later in life, like we are, like all that. Again, babies don't even walk. You don't need shoes.
Yeah. At least not no $100 shoes.
Exactly. Jordans, right? Michael Jordan.
Right. Crazy.
Yeah. It's exciting though, man. It's like I mean, it's a life-changing experience, right?
It is.
For you guys, you know, it's like, man, but it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
It is in many ways. You know, we have gotten really used to having a lot of time to ourselves. We, you know, every long weekend we travel, we'll get in the car and we drive anywhere within, you know, 8-9 hour radius. We could just have a, you know, random trip. When he had his Tampa show, I wasn't going to go until pretty much the last minute. And then I was like, you know what, why don't we just all go? You know, no big deal. So those are things that we're used to are definitely going to have to be adjusted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you can always have, you know, auntie, uncle babysit too, right? I mean, you guys have family and friends in the area?
We do. Well,
we have some. I mean, we have, I guess, a few friends that we could trust. I have 2 of my friends offered up babysitting services today.
Yeah.
And the only bad thing is living here is we far away from our families.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of, we don't have as large of a support system and as we wish we had, but you know, we'll manage.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
Yeah,
no, for sure. You know, David, you got to make sure that you know, after baby boy is born, you got to go take Ian on a nice dinner, man. And,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
That goes without saying. Absolutely. I mean, she's doing something that I can never do. I mean, I literally can't do that. You know, so I mean, that's something that has to be, you know, applauded and I mean, it's definitely something that, you know.
Oh, he tells me in the middle of the night when I'm wide awake, sorry, and goes right back to sleep.
I mean, she goes through it, man. She can't sleep. She can't eat. She's eating weird shit. Like, I'm sorry. If I could take it all from you, I would. But I mean, anatomically, I can't do it. You know, I'm sorry. But, yeah. She's doing a great job. I mean, she really is. She's doing a great job.
Yeah, no, for sure. You guys are gonna make awesome parents, man, because you guys are just so structured and routine, and you know, you guys. I mean, it just shows. I mean, to me, I think like if you can do a bodybuilding show and be successful, right? I mean, you can be good parents, because it takes discipline, it takes patience, right?
Yep.
And structure and routine and planning and all that stuff. And you guys do that now, so I think it's gonna be simple for you.
I think so.
You guys have
the same interview about like 2 months after the baby's born, and then ask us the same question.
We'll see where we're at.
Yeah, we'll do a follow up, and then we'll have him on the show. You know,
I'm gonna be 300 pounds, but not bodybuilder 300 pounds.
All stressed out.
No hair, like, you know.
Oh man. You guys have any names planned out?
Well, he's a junior.
David, absolutely. Yeah. But one thing that we did do is we took so obviously David for the first name, but we wanted to have some Ukrainian, you know, heritage, I guess, if that's the word to use in there. So his middle name will be Roman, and that's a family name in Ina's side. That's several of her uncles and kind
of a generational thing. Yeah, every generation probably since, I don't know, maybe, you know, 1800s had a Roman in it. And none of my cousins right now that our age have kids with boys named Roman. So it'll be a first one in our generation.
Yeah.
Wow. I like that. David Roman. Yeah.
It sounds good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It does.
I like it. I like it.
I think I hope you guys ready. When he comes out, he's probably going to be holding a dumbbell, man.
I know he is. I know he is.
You know, where'd you get that from? My mom's a bodybuilder. I got it from her stomach, you know.
You know,
it was just laying around, you know. Man, that's awesome. Congratulations, you guys.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming on the show and spreading the news and letting people know, you know. So
now we actually have to make it Facebook official, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep you guys posted, man. Like I said, we're so now that we did this, we'll post about it, you know, and keep people, you know, updated on it. Cause I mean, it really is great news. It was a little sensitive for us because of everything that went into it. You know, there's so many people that if they think about having a baby, you know, it happens. And for us, it just didn't work like that. There were so many hurdles to jump over, so many. It's too many to even talk about. And at one point it almost felt like it wasn't going to happen. Like we really thought that it was just impossible, whether it was something that doctors were telling us, you know, nonchalantly and with no emotion. They would tell us certain things. And then, you know, the attempts, you know, it seemed impossible, you know, but I mean, we're here now and baby's strong. He's strong. He's already moving around, you know, it's a miracle and a blessing, man. So we'll definitely keep people posted. We're very happy.
Yeah. Please do. I mean, you know, we have the platforms out there on social media. I mean, obviously we live far away. We can't connect every day, you know, but you know, you guys can keep us updated through that platform, right? And I think that's good use of that platform.
Absolutely,
you know, especially with this type of news, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, to your point, Dave, like you know, God works in mysterious ways, man, and He provides miracles to the people that He loves. So
absolutely.
You know.
So with us, it was a whole lot of prayers and I think a whole lot of science, and that's what most people don't know. But if it wasn't for science, if it wasn't for a team of absolutely amazing team of our doctor and the nurses, we wouldn't have been pregnant. We went through 3 cycles of in vitro. We had 2 losses. We just went through a lot, and a lot of it is a subject not really talked about due to a lot of reasons. And it starts with, you know, kind of feeling maybe shamed because, you know, something that other people have so easily, you know, something that the nature just grants you naturally, your struggle with. But also, I think in our bodybuilding community, it's very common.
Yeah.
And people don't talk about it because they don't know anybody that has gone through that. And then it's really sometimes just a random, right, casual conversation that you find out, wait a minute, this couple went through the same thing, or you know, this person had to do kind of a similar stuff, or this person had to turn to science. And next thing you know, you realize that it's a lot more common, especially nowadays. And you can attribute it to a lot of things. I think it's anything in our environment, it's the choices that we make in our lives. It's some of the genetic changes that humans have gone through over the last maybe 40, 50 years. You know, David used to make fun of me for the longest when I would throw away all the plastic containers that had a small little scratch in it, or a plastic bottle that was, you know, accidentally microwaved. But what a lot of people don't realize is the BPA, or anything that's like BPA, that is synthetic estrogen. And as a male, the last thing you need is your body is a foreign source of estrogen.
Exactly.
But it's small things, right? But all that, I think, just kind of compounded to where now our generation is having to face some real struggles and has to face some real choices, because none of these procedures are cheap. None of these procedures are in most states are covered by insurance. So it's hard. So when you finally are successful, you do what we did. We kind of held on to the law for the longest,
just
right?
for a little bit, yeah.
And it's like, well, let's wait until the next appointment to make sure everything's okay. Everything's okay. And we're like, okay, let's wait until the next one just to like really, really double make sure that everything's okay.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
get to that one, you know, we get a whole bunch of ultrasounds. We're like, okay, that's still not enough. Let's wait till another one.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's like already high-fiving on the ultrasound, and we're still like, let's wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, just to be extra sure, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think what you guys went through, it's just my opinion. I don't think what you guys went through is not that uncommon, right? Like you said, you know, I think a lot of athletes, high level athletes, have the same issues too, right? And I think it's just because of what we do and just the training, the vigorous working out, all that stuff. Our bodies just change, right? For some reason. And then you have the people that, you know, they don't work out, they just live a normal life, and they can sneeze and they get pregnant, right? So it's like, you know, I think, like you said, I agree with you 100%. It all depends on, like, you know, the hobbies you choose, the things we eat, what we do, external factors, environmental factors, all that stuff. You know? So, yeah.
I'll tell you what it was for me. I'll admit, so I was a major contributor to our you know, inability to get pregnant. I mean, I'm a professional bodybuilder, and so I take certain drugs for, you know, that we take in our sport. And, you know, when you're young and when all you want to do is turn pro and all you want to do is do well on stage, you're going to take what's needed, what you need to take to do that. What a lot of athletes don't realize at the time is that, you know, exogenous testosterone, it will destroy your ability to reproduce. And it did that for me. I'll tell you a really short story. Our first round of IVF, you know, went in and they extracted the eggs from her, and tell me if I'm saying too much, but so you know, my job was to go in and fertilize the eggs, and so I gave that sample. The doctors are calling me back saying, we got nothing. My sperm count was 0. I had nothing. I had nothing to fertilize the eggs with at all. Nothing, you know, and it was a direct, you know, reflection of the things that I was taking and what it does in the body. You know, when you're injecting exogenous testosterone, you don't produce it naturally, or you stop producing it naturally. And when you stop producing it naturally, you stop producing two hormones, luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. Those two hormones are what we use to create sperm. And so if you're not creating testosterone naturally, you stop producing those two sex hormones, LH and FSH, and you do not create sperm. You do not produce, you do not make sperm. You can't reproduce. And so that's what happened to me from the years of you know, testosterone use. And I didn't know that. I wasn't aware. And it was like a train hit us both in the face. It really was. It was crazy. It was crazy to hear that. And so for 6, 7, 8 months, you know, I'm having to take, you know, large doses of what they call HCG, absolutely no steroids at all, nothing. This whole off season, I was on no steroids at all. It was because I couldn't, you know. And so finally we got my numbers up to the point where we could do IVF. We can never reproduce naturally, but IVF was our saving grace.
And so, unfortunately, what our doctor told us was that while you can recover long term from the testosterone and kind of build it naturally, there's a very small, like single digits percentage of men that they don't recover. Think of it as people taking T3, right? You take so much of it, at some point your thyroid gland function is just going to shut down, and there's nothing you can do. And now you're, for the rest of your life, you essentially have a Hashimoto disease that was kind of caused by. So there's a small percentage of people that just don't ever recover. With our luck, I felt like whatever the worst side effects of anything was, we were getting it. So with our luck, it was kind of our case too. So we started looking at supplements and bodybuilding and just kind of life decisions in general a little different. There's still ways of of doing bodybuilding. I think if this was maybe 10 years ago, we were going through it, freezing sperm is a great, I guess, alternative, right? For women, you can freeze your eggs. It is an expensive procedure, but depending where you go, you can get some discounted prices. But in the long run, it'll still be so much cheaper than kind of living your life a little bit recklessly and maybe a little bit ignorant to some of the things that may, have some long-term effects, and then having to do IVF cycles that are 20, 25 grand each. It'd still be cheaper. But I guess one thing we did learn is you got to do research. You got to do research on everything that goes into your body. No matter how bad you want it right now, it's going to have long-term effects that you're going to regret.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And, I think just to give people a visual, and you guys tell me if this is right or wrong, when you think about like sperm, right? And you think about like looking under it from a microscope, right? There's all the little tadpoles, right, that's swimming around.
Yep.
So David, are you saying that when you first donated your sperm, there was no tadpole swimming?
There was absolutely none. I had a sperm count of 0, Greg. 0. Not a sperm, because a normal sperm count is 10 to 15 million.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
I didn't have 1,000. I had none. And then after 8 to 9 months of HCG treatment with a fertility doctor on my end, I got my numbers to 10,000. So taking steroids totally, it killed. And I was one of that small factor that never will fully recover from and it's crazy because I never, I wasn't doing anything super crazy. I'm a smaller guy. I'm not one of but I was just one of the ones that I will never fully recover. Thank God that we have, doctors that were smart enough to develop this in vitro fertilization process that me and Ina could even have a baby, because if it had not been for that, my numbers would never be anywhere where we could conceive, naturally.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I gave that sample under the microscope. The doctor saw nothing. They saw nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to put a little bit more perspective around what you're saying is like, you guys remember sexual education class back in like, I don't know, 6th grade, 7th grade, and they have the little video, right? Where all the sperm, all the tadpoles are swimming, right?
Yep.
They get up the canal trying to get to the egg.
Yep.
When you have 10 million, at least one's going to make it, right?
Right.
When you have 10,000, they're probably all going to die trying to get there.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's exactly, yep.
And so that's why you guys have to do in vitro, right?
Absolutely. And it's not pleasant. It's never a guarantee. As Ina said earlier, we had 2 failed cycles before our successful cycle. So, that's emotional pain. That's financial stress, and for a while, me and Ina, we were, and no one really knew because we kind of keep private, and, when it comes to things like that, but we were in a dark place. We were in a very, very dark place, for all of those reasons. And it was kind of like cinder blocks on top of us for a while. We kept smiling into the to the outside world. Everything seemed like it was okay, but we were in a dark place only because everything seemed so negative. There was nothing working, and everything bad that could come about this whole IVF process, it did happen. The first cycle didn't work, and that crushed us. It really did. And I know it's very sensitive to talk about, but you guys are family, So we're definitely going to talk about it. It's one of the things. But at the end of the day, we're happy. And, we finally been, successful. We still got a good 5 months to go, but.
And we already spent his college fund. So there's that.
His college fund is gone.
Yeah. His college fund is himself. So
if he only knew the price tag that came with him, if he only knew.
He's the $1 million baby, man.
He is. He is. Yeah.
So real quick, just so that, and this is more education on my part and probably the viewers too. Like, when you guys do in vitro, are you guys comfortable talking about it?
Yeah.
The whole process. So when you guys do in vitro, so Ina, they take your egg, right? And then it's
a little different. What they do is first of all, they pump women with a lot of, I think it's also LH and FSH.
And FSH.
Because the same hormone that makes sperm will be the same hormone that will stimulate the ovaries, right? So every month the woman ovulates. It's actually a few eggs that develop, and then there's one dominant that ends up kind of developing, and the rest just die out, right? So they start pumping you with a lot of medications, and that's like daily shots for anywhere between 8 to 12 days. And it's a elephant dose of LH and FSH, right? To make sure that they can harvest as many eggs possible. So instead of one being dominant or two, they can harvest all of them. And when they think that they're right at the point that you're about to ovulate, all of that is definitely timed and controlled. They give you more medication to make sure that you don't ovulate too early. So that's just really medications on top of medications. And then you, under general anesthesia, they do, they basically, they kind of use like an aspirator type thing, and they collect them one by one. So they collect them, the embryologist in the lab make sure, okay, they're mature enough. And if they're mature, they will fertilize them with the sperm from a spouse, a partner, or, and then they're fertilizing the same day. And then the next day,
Well, tell them about how they fertilize them, because
so the way we went, so there are two ways that can fertilize them depending on the numbers of a partner. So if the sperm number is really high, they essentially do like a Tinder date in the petri dish, right? They'll have the eggs, they'll have a bunch of sperm, and they do their little mingling around. What we did is something that more clinics are doing. It's called ICSI, ICSI. Do not ask me what it stands for. But it's basically a prearranged marriage. They take an egg, they take a sperm, and they marry them together. There's a great documentary on Netflix actually that it's about a 15-minute. It's a longer episode, but they're about 15 minutes where they actually show how they do it. You know, it's a giant microscope. It's the tiniest needle in the world, and they literally just pick the little swimmer by its tail and take him to the egg and kind of marry them together.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then they let him sit overnight in the lab, kind of figure out which ones got along, which ones didn't. And then they have about 5 days to where the embryo grows from just a basic two-cell embryo, two-cell blob here to like a 100-cell in 5 days. The reason why they do it for 5 days is because they have proven that the embryo can survive outside of a human body for that long. And at a 5-day mark, they will either transfer them into a uterus if the woman wants to do what they call fresh transfer, or what they can do is they can freeze them for a later day. Let's say you're not ready, or sometimes these cycles, the medications that you're given before getting the egg retrieval are so intense, it takes a while to recover from them, which was our case the third time around. My body was very tired, and I'm glad we decided not to do the fresh cycle. But what it also gives you an opportunity to do is pregnant women, usually during the second or third trimester, they have a chance to do, it's pretty invasive test where they actually take a very long needle, kind of go into the stomach, and they biopsy a part of a placenta because the same DNA that the baby has, the placenta would have. So, and they can determine if the baby has the trisomy 18, Down syndrome, cystic fibrosis. That's already in the pregnancy. So the outer shell of this tiny itty bitty embryo is what eventually will become placenta. So as it's only 5 days old, it's tiny little thing. They can biopsy the just enough to get a few chromosome strands and send it into the lab. So you can already know way ahead of time, not only the gender if you choose to, but any I guess genetic abnormalities that can cause a miscarriage. 99% of the time, any embryos that are genetically abnormal will result in a miscarriage before 12 weeks. Hence, a lot of people have, 1 out of 4 women has a miscarriage, and it's due to genetic abnormalities. So the doctors usually, when they do that, they don't transfer those embryos because that is guaranteed failed cycle, and it's difficult on the mother. It's hard, right? But when the embryo comes back and it's fine, like in our case, it came back, he was healthy. I had a choice when to do the transfer, and the choice could be as, you know, as early as next month or come back in the year, because as long as it's frozen, he's safe.
Wow.
You know, it's a baby on ice, right? He's surviving the ice age. So we
It's
decided
Captain
to
America on ice.
yeah. So we decided to go with the very next month. Unfortunately, that first one, we failed. We lost. So we tried again, because we actually ended up with 4 total embryos. So we tried again, and yeah, here we are with the junior. But it's a very interesting process. Never knew that this even existed. Never knew. I knew of you know, assisted reproductive technology. I knew that there was in vitro, but actually getting into details, and I was so fascinated by it that I was trying to figure out if there's a way to become an embryologist without having to go to a medical school, because they are dealing with the tiniest, you know, 2-cell human being potentials that no one has ever seen. To me, it's incredible.
It's crazy. It's a lot.
It's absolutely crazy. Another crazy part is that during the transfer is when they actually take this little embryo, and you're awake for it, except for I was high on Valium because they try to make you relax. When they transfer the embryo, you get to watch it. So David was right there in the room.
Yeah, I got it on video.
Basically, David was there when I got pregnant.
I was there, but not participating.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's a whole team, and you know, like the clinic that we went to here, I mean, they're amazing. They knew us by first name basis, and they were joking like my chart was getting too big. They got to get me out of there, you know. And when we had our last appointment, it was kind of like, man, we're not coming back here anymore. We graduated. It was everyone was excited. So it's almost like, you know, people who work there have a vested interest, of course, not only financial, not only the success and I guess the reputation of the clinic, but you can tell a personal investment in each and every one of their. I had the same nurse for every single procedure, and I felt like she was tired of seeing me, but she was like, "Oh, hey, it's you again," you know. So it's an incredibly difficult emotionally process, or it could be. But it's fascinating. Yeah, the sex health education that we had in school, we learned maybe 2% of the reality, you know? Yeah. It's pretty incredible. And man, you know, this started at like mid 80s, I think. 1986 was the first IVF baby was born. And here we are today, really fighting for insurance companies to cover it now, because it's a necessity. It's really becoming a necessity for a lot of families.
I think I agree with you. I think it should be covered by medical insurance, especially if you're paying premiums already. They should have some kind of benefit that's tied to it, right? Because it's just part of normal living, right? Because we can argue the point that, you know, it's other factors that causes us to have to do this, right? It's not just it could be genetic, but it could be other external factors. It could be the environment that we're in today. I think it's super exciting hearing the science behind what you guys just explained, because I never knew that, like, how it worked. But I also think that it's like, I don't think a lot of people understand this, but like the way that your team, your doctors and your nurses, and the way that you guys actually did this whole process, they really tried to make it like super intuitive, super hands-on, super emotional, right? So you get connected, right? Even if it's not the traditional way of having a baby, right? It's still like, I mean, like that whole part you said, well, oh, they're gonna insert it, and David was there. Like, I'm pretty sure for you, David, that was emotional in a sense. Right?
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. And COVID was difficult. During COVID, any family so the clinic shut down for some time, which was kind of delayed us in starting treatment. But what was difficult was that a lot of people were going through this process without their partners being there, because the clinic only allowed, you know, one person, which was the patient. So the fact that, you know, by the time it was our turn to do this last transfer, they said, "Oh, he can come with you. Why are you going by yourself?" He was still sitting in a chair, like, I'll just wait for you here. That was exciting. Because going through this by yourself is the worst thing.
Exactly. Yeah. No, this is great, guys. one of the things that, so I'm going to meet David Roman Robinson Jr. one day, right? And, if David Roman talks back to either of you, you know what you guys tell him? You can say, listen, buddy, do you know what we went through to bring you into this freaking world?
I'm going to pull out a receipt. Like, do you know what this is? Let me get a refund. No, I'm just
Wow, man, that's cool. All right. Well, it's the top of the hour, guys. I don't want to take too much of your time on a Sunday, but I really want to thank you guys for jumping on here. Don't hang up after we click off, all right, the live. I'm going to talk to you guys real quick for a couple of minutes. But thank you guys for coming on. Thank you guys for sharing with the world about what you guys went through and being very transparent and open and, just laying things out because, it's reality, right? There's you guys not covering anything up, you guys are being honest and forthcoming and I appreciate that. So
for sure.
Yeah. But we'll definitely get you guys back on here and then we'll definitely sync up when so we got DJ, right? David Roman Robinson. Yep. I like that. That's cool, yeah.
Not Hook.
I knew it.
That's another segment, right? That's another segment. Yeah, she can't keep her mouth shut about that. No. Man. Yeah, we'll talk more about was that Hook Jr.?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember that.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining, everybody, and we'll catch you guys on the next GY Fitness live.
We appreciate it.
Hold on tight, guys. Okay, thanks.